Hello and welcome back to Awakened Entrepreneur Revolution. My guest today is the CEO of Plan Life According to You. She's a best-selling author, a Les Brown alumni, a motivational speaker, and a global ambassador.
Mhm.
Please welcome Andrea Mason. Hi, Andrea. How are you?
Hello, Jana. How are you doing? How's
Doing
everything going?
well.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. It's a pleasure. I can't wait to really
Mhm.
dig into, what do you do and how you serve because,
Mhm.
so many of the people I have here on this podcast, we're all mission based, right? We're all
Mhm.
impact driven. Um,
Mhm.
Probably chances are along the way you had some sort of awakening. So I'd love to hear about like how you came to be the Andrea Mason.
Yeah, yes, excellent. So I came to be, I realized I'm blurry actually, pardon me. Um, Let me see if I can fix that. Pardon, I don't know why that's doing that. Is that better?
My not it might sort itself out. Mine does that from time to time
Yeah, I
too.
don't know. I'm sorry. I should have
That's okay.
fixed. Yeah, I don't know if it's the formatting of the frame because
Let me
that's
see.
never happened before. Oh, there we go. Okay, now it's clear. Okay,
Okay.
excellent. Okay. Pardon me, ladies and gentlemen. So, yes, so the awakening happened when I realized that I had a choice every single
Mm,
day, a chance and a choice to make a difference. And so for me, that awakening was when I had enough is enough. When you're tired of going through the hamster wheel of life and going through the motions and not really having the sense of ability to create your own destiny. I believe destinies don't have deadlines, they create destination. And so my pivotal moment awakening was when I was going through a series of not being well, not really staying like satisfied with the way my life was going, whether it was a job I didn't like or the way that life was going with me, and I had to make a change. And it really took the carpet under my feet because I was just suppressing the issues rather than facing them.
I think that's so true for so many of us, and it seems as if like there's some sort of really beautiful overlap. It's
Mhm.
like where you're awakening, spirituality,
Mhm.
personal development, and then enter in stage right entrepreneurship. It's like
Right. Mhm. Yes,
Like there's just like
absolutely.
somehow it all sort of seems to come together because I don't know about you, but once, I was in the corporate world and in sales for
Mhm.
over 2 decades. And
Wow.
it was good. It was good in
Mhm.
living. It was all the things, I prepared my whole life for.
Yes.
And then it wasn't anymore.
Mhm.
And it's so interesting. I would love to know more about, if you felt that way too, but it's like as soon as this calling comes in, you
Mhm.
can't shake it, you know? Does that
Right. Yes. No, I totally agree. I started out with, not really understanding who I was. I'm an adoptee. So I really didn't fit in with my family. Unconditional love, safest place, beautiful, but in the community it was different. And so through the trials and tribulations of abuse and bullying and not fitting in, failing at everything in life, I decided, let me go in the industries to understand what's going on, really. Social work, psychology to understand the mind, social work to understand the environment and culture. And like you said, I worked my way up to management and did the corporate career. And you felt like you were doing what you needed to do, but it wasn't what you wanted to do. Does that make sense? It wasn't your passion. It was something like you didn't jump out of bed and said, I can't wait to go to corporate work today. It was like, yes, it was steady, it was reliable, you did your job, you did it well, but you knew you could be more, you knew you could do more. And that's really what had happened. I dedicated my about 2 decades and degrees in those industries. And like I said, I was just suppressing everything and just going, had to be a people pleaser, had to be at work on time. The first one early to make sure everything was ready for the day, and the last one before the lights went off to make sure everything wasn't not complete, what they call type AAA personality mentality. And it just was the motion. I knew I could do something different. And that was the change when it really had affected my life and health personally that I had to make a difference. Yeah.
Well, and it's so interesting too how these things come out of, like, it's like the what is it? The coal becoming a diamond, right? Or
Mhm.
gold, or
Yes, yes.
what is the alchemy
The
process
coal
of.
becoming a diamond. Diamond
Okay,
is
so
made under great,
I
great
thought so,
pressure.
then I got all
Yes.
like, "Wait a minute, which one is it?" But that's it, like, so many of the gifts. I wouldn't
Mhm.
be here today had I not hit a low point,
Right. Yes.
had I not had to really, like, reconcile some darkness, had I
Yes.
not really, got to that point in my life where I had to surrender. And
Yes.
and then
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, now it's like a video game. It's like, now you're on the next level.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
like,
Mhm.
welcome. And
Mhm.
so tell us then, so you've had this, like, so many people listening. We all
Mhm.
checked the boxes, got the gold stars, did all the things, and then it
Right.
was like something's missing. So
Mhm.
so what so take me through, like, from the point where you were going, okay, it's got to change, and now you to being the CEO of Press Play
Mhm.
Life, according to you.
Yes. So, as I had mentioned, it was a struggle. I am the master, the face of failure. It took me a million and one times to get something that everybody would get in about 10 times.
At
And
least
I
that's
think
what it appears like, but not
right,
necessarily.
right. And for the listeners out there, you're not going to get it on the first time. And it's okay to do it multiple times because the beauty of that, as I learned as a CEO, is now what not to do. Trial and error. You have erased it so you don't repeat that again. And that's the beauty of it. So what happened was, you know, I wasn't fitting in. I wasn't really making the grade per se. And I wanted to do right by my parents. My parents always instilled me, Andrea, no matter what you do your best, do what you love, and do it right. And sounds simple, right? But when you have parents who put high expectation upon themselves, it's kind of like, oh man, am I ever going to catch up? Am I ever going to, wait for the other shoe to drop? So I put a lot of pressure on myself. And what we don't realize is stress is the number one killer because it's not even the stress of anxiety, depression that we are able to, in this day and age, portray. It was the suppression of the emotions. Well, I got to go to work. I'm not going to, I have to finish this. And
Pull it
you
together.
become, yeah, yeah, just buck up, and pull your, boots up with the bootstraps. And that's okay. But when you have a lot going on and you're not facing it, one, an innocent bystander is going to get hurt, or two, even worse, it's going to have a toll on you, and that's what it did for me. So to take on the journey on that path was doing the right thing, working, going to work early, staying home late, making sure everything's in order, and I was pushing back myself. I was putting myself last. Let me take care of the family. Let me take care of my friends. Let me take care of the business, that I was working for at the time. But ladies and gentlemen, when we say yes to somebody else, we have to make sure we're not saying no to ourselves. And that's what I was doing. I was self-sabotaging and self-heat medication or suppressing my emotions through ignoring it completely, isolating, going in that tunnel vision of the world. And what happened was it was just building up autoimmune conditions, all different medical conditions that were arising. And I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I'm not, I don't do these extra things to cause this, but I was. I wasn't focusing on the emotion. I was focusing on the tasks at hand. I wasn't being mindful of my rest. This is a key thing that people don't realize. You need your sleep. You need to have disciplined sleeping patterns to function. We're not college kids where we do and pull an all-nighter. You do that often enough, and your body will then adapt. And then when it's time to reset, it becomes difficult. So what I was doing, I was suppressing my emotions. I was just going through the the pathway of just robotic and tunnel vision, and it really took a toll on my health. I ended up getting, all of these autoimmune conditions, and then I would get medication on top of it, which didn't coincide with other condition. And then at the precipice of it was I lost my mother. And I
Mm.
was like, now what am I going to do? Here's my crutch, my hero, my inspiration, and now she's gone. So what did I do? Creatures of habit, habituals. I just suppress it. Okay, we did the motions. I have to get back to work. And then less than a decade later, it hit me like a ton of bricks. All of a sudden, I went into the office. Boom. Next thing I woke up in the ICU unit. I was in the hospital. So we have to be cognizant. Our body is able to tell us when we are not in alignment with things. And one of the things I remember my boss saying was, you don't know how good you feel until you feel good, right? If you're going through the emotions and thinking this is the way of life that New York Minute or multitasking is magnificent, it's not, because you're not able to give 100% to the task at hand, the individual, but most importantly, yourself.
I think it's so important to have this conversation. I actually
Mhm,
got kind of triggered about a month ago by this reel, and it
mhm,
was this sort of like, poor mom, I have come last. Like, this is who I've been,
mhm,
and there's a lot of that out there, and it's
mhm.
like, but no, that's a choice. Like, I don't think that we
Right,
should wear that as a badge of honor of like,
right,
yes, because I'm run myself ragged and I don't have time to shower, I'm the best mom there is. And
right.
like, I put myself like, I'm the martyr. And,
Mhm,
I left a comment, which I very seldom do, but I was just like, I kind of disagree, like,
mhm. Right,
I don't think that that is, like, the most noble thing you can do,
right,
and I don't think it is setting the best example for your kids that I have no
right.
boundaries and you just whatever you need, anytime you need it, I'm there, no
Mhm.
matter. I mean, of course, like, if they need something, but, like,
Right. No,
you don't
yeah.
need a freaking Starbucks, I can tell you
Right.
that, or
Yes.
Lululemon, and don't even get
Right.
me started on Stanley's, but that's a conversation for another day. But I
Right.
just, there's a lot of that out there, and I love that you're bringing more awareness to maybe that's not right. Like, maybe I don't need to
Right.
put myself last because I will end up
Right.
in the ICU with,
Yeah.
so tell me then, what does it look like for you today, Andrea?
So today what I'm doing is that hospitalization was really my ticking time of, all right, are you going to make a change, or if nothing changes, nothing changes? And it
Yes.
was really a awakening call. And I always pay homage to the late great Bob Proctor, because my family reached out to me on that phone. I mean, I was stage 5 myasthenia gravis, which I've never even, like, it just blew up. And I'll never forget the call. This is not who you are. Your family needs you. You have to be here. You need you. You need to be the best version. And I'll never forget Bob Proctor saying in the secret medical excerpt, saying, "Dis-ease cannot withstand an emotional healthy mindset. Dis-ease cannot withstand a healthy emotional mindset." And dis-ease is the disease, not at ease. Dis-ease, not at ease. And that's what I was doing. I didn't have that balance. I didn't have that frequency of being, I need to take care of me first in order to be the best version I am to show up for you. And as women, we do that. We want to control. We want to make sure we nurture. We want to be the problem solver. We want to be the healer, but we're doing that for everybody else except ourselves. And so one of the exercises I have people do is I say, look in the mirror. Yeah, a full length mirror. And let's not focus on the hair out of place, the button that's not buttoned evenly. Let's look in the mirror and say, you're worth 100% every single day. And when do we do that? We always say, how are you doing, for a quick response for saying, no, how are you doing? I'm doing good. Take a second and ask your reflection, how are you doing today? Because if we have the awareness, we have the cognizance of taking that 3 to 6 second question and really wholeheartedly grasping it, a tear may fall, a deep breath might be needed, that golf ball may need to be swallowed in our throat, or a smile needs to be bared. Because it's just like the analogy on the flights. Put your mask on first before helping anyone else. And as women, we're either constantly helping and controlling everyone else, or we're competing with one another. You know, I am so exhausted watching cat films, not real cats, like the women clawing each other and putting each other down. We need to empower our women. We need to empower them that, hey, it's okay. Recognize that you can be vulnerable. Recognize you can be sad. You can be healthy. You can be happy. You can cry. Because when you have that essence of authenticity, that ability to act with integrity, that's where the unconditional love that is created for us to give to others is born.
It's beautiful, and it's so true. I do a lot of mirror work,
Hmm.
because there's just something that's so special about so soulful, so special, and so touching
Hmm.
about holding yourself in those moments
Right.
and truly connecting. Because
Yeah.
we are, even us consciously evolved entrepreneurs, we've cultivated awareness. We have, a lot of those things, but we still get lost. And just
Right.
having those moments to just reconnect is so
Yeah.
powerful.
Yes.
I something I that's so I don't think I've ever talked about on the show, but there's like I do yoga,
Mm.
not as much as I used to, but I whenever I hold the back of my neck in
Mm.
yoga, like when I'm down in child's pose, there's
Mhm.
something just I don't know, like so comforting about like it'll make me cry,
Yeah.
'cause it's like
Well,
that support maybe you didn't feel like you got. Or,
right.
another one you is here, like rubbing your
Mhm.
and
It's
so,
the reflection of your maternal mother or your parent or guardian holding you. They
yes.
always hold the infants by
Yeah,
their small of their
like you
back
get
and the
them
nape of their
back
neck. And then you
yeah,
have the dads or the grandmas squeezing your
yeah,
shoulders,
yeah,
and that virtual self hug, if you will, is so powerful because we do have to remember we're not robots, we're human.
yeah,
And we do have to remember that in order to heal, you must feel, whether you're screaming, yelling, crying, laughing, or just being still. And I think we need to do more of being in the present and stillness and silence, even if it's for 3 minutes, 1 minute, just that moment to kind of gain grounding and focus again.
yeah, it's so, it's like, what is it? The shortest distance, but the hardest mission is to within.
Hmm.
And it
Absolutely.
is the mission of our life, and then
Right.
I think then it becomes an outward mission, but until that
Right.
piece until that
Hmm.
path is made home
Right.
to yourself, it's going to come with a lot of heaviness.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so you're a best-selling author, and I
Mhm.
know you worked with Les Brown. So I'd love to
Yes.
hear more about, what you're doing now and how you're
Mhm.
serving people out in the world.
Yes, absolutely. So, like I said, I'm an alumna of Les Brown. He's a kindred spirit, fellow friend, a fellow adoptee as well. And, it's just amazing because you look at individuals on a level that he is, and then you connect with him to realize how gracious and humble he is, and he remembers where he came from is very admirable. And that's what I thrive to look for in the individuals. Not in it's when it's from me, credibility, visibility, whatever. How can I serve you? How can we serve each other? But most importantly, how can we serve others? And so what I'm doing is really emulating that and remembering where I came from, although it's very bleak because like I said, I came from Colombia, South America, came to America at 11 months old, weighing in at 11 pounds. So I have no photographs, no medical documents of my family. It's a blank slate. And what is the beauty about that is I can rewrite my story
Mhm.
and not live a life of vengeance, but a life of victory. And so I've been doing that virtually speaking on every continent, coaching individuals, mentoring, and providing internships for young individuals. And when you do the inner work, as you said, and have a true sense of identity and what your message and mission are, then the rest just kind of falls into place. But the biggest difficulty on my journey has been not only, I guess the biggest one would say there would be one would be the patience because you're grinding and grinding and grinding and it's like when is it going to happen? And as you're grinding focusing on when you're not recognizing and appreciating all that you've achieved.
Yes.
And I'm remembered of that every time I connect with someone. What is your bio? Or what are you working on now? And it's just like, we have to stop this mentality of chasing your dream, but embracing your dream, embracing the
Mhm.
journey, because that's when the tension, the fear, the delusions, go away.
It's so true. When you're chasing and it's always a forward thing, it's literally like the carrot dangling. But
Hmm.
when you can take a moment, instead of measuring yourself against the gap, like where you want to
Right.
be and look at the
Hmm.
game, like all that
Yes.
you've done. Because, a lot of my clients, they come into the space, they probably picked up on somebody's marketing message around like, "Yeah, just plug and play, just come do
Yep.
my thing and you'll be,"
Right.
you know, so they feel a little disenchanted and I tell them, it's if it were that easy, everybody would do it. So let's
Yes.
just be clear on that.
Right.
They're trying to
Right.
sell you something, so let's understand what's happening there, and then
Right.
it is yours. I believe if the vision is in you, it is absolutely meant for you. Like, it's
Yes.
just now a matter of you becoming the person that
Right.
just steps into the result, the vision that you desire. And listen, that's an alchemical process,
Yes.
right? Like, that's
Absolutely.
so, a big part of what I do with my clients is, we have to develop skill sets here. There's no such
Hmm.
thing as you just plug A into B, just
Right.
follow my simple thing. It's,
Right.
we got to really understand like who you're talking to and like really get good
Right.
at speaking their language. And
Yes. I'm
and I
glad you
love that
mentioned
you're
that.
sharing that. What's that?
Yes. No, I'm glad you mentioned that is because that was my biggest struggle growing up
A lot of
and is
people.
today. The comprehension of learning as you evolve from decade to decade and experience to experience, your comprehension, your intuitiveness, your communication, your apprehension has shifts as you go along. And some people don't realize that. And so that's why I do my best to refrain from cookie cutter methods because not everybody's in the same place. They have the same book of life, but they're at different chapters. And so I meet them where they're at. And I love the fact that you said that if it's plug and play, everybody'd be doing it. Absolutely. It's a principle, it may be a strategy, but at the same token, it's all banked on your mission, your passion, and your perseverance and consistency. And that is where the diamond, as you mentioned, will be made shine brighter because you're meticulous, because you're fine tuning your craft. You're really honing into, okay, A, B, C. And not everybody's on the same timeline. And our timeline is determined not by us. We're saying, well, why didn't it happen then? Why are we meeting now? Why am I not here? Because that's not how it's laid out for you. Yes, you have a chance and a choice to choose the path, But to be honest, the universe, the vortex, the belief system, the creator, whatever you choose, says, well, you still have a little list. You need to learn this. So let's throw this into the mix
Yeah.
because you haven't mastered this yet. You haven't mastered patience, so let's stretch it out. You haven't mastered communication, so do this. You haven't mastered whatever. And so as you're developing who you are, as you're having this awakening moment, be mindful of all that's embodied with it, the frequency, the message, your preparedness, your readiness. Because for me, one of my things was when I connected with Les, he was just like, I remember the way the that I got hooked was, "Are you going through it or are you growing through it?" He said. And I was like, wow, that's pretty deep. And so I was just going through the motion thinking, okay, well, if I do A through B through Z, then I'm going to get there right there. No, because we bring at times the external influences, we bring in the past, we bring in the elements, like everything is happening as well as your mission. So going back to reflection of self-awareness as well as peace and patience, that's when the ball's really going to start moving forward.
It is interesting how things all truly start to rearrange in your reality when you
Mhm,
really feel when you have fully stepped
mhm.
into, okay, this is a co-creation.
Yeah,
I am at peace with this is all happening for me. So
yes,
whatever shows up is exactly what I need. Whether
right,
it's bad, quote unquote, or
right,
good,
and that's a
it's
perception.
what I need in
Mhm,
order to become the version of myself that lives the dream that you've
mm,
been dreaming. But the
right,
kicker is,
right,
guess what? Everybody, spoiler alert.
yep,
As soon as you get to that, a whole new dream starts to materialize
yes,
before your eyes.
yes,
And that's the
absolutely,
cosmic joke. So, I
right,
tell my clients, I'm like, if you're waiting, if you're holding your breath, like, oh, I will
yep,
be happy when let
mhm,
me tell you what, let me just show you how that's going to go. You're going to
mhm,
get there and now you're going to have a whole nother thing. So you'll never feel like you're in a celebration mode.
right,
You'll
yes,
never feel the gratitude for all the gain
mhm,
because you're focused on the destination, which
yes,
by the get there, you're
yep,
going to want another one.
yes.
So
And I'm
that's
glad you mentioned that. Yeah, because in my journey, I was fearing success. And they're like, how do you
Mhm.
fear success? I was like, because I know everything. I am to the point, as you mentioned, everything is happening for me, not to me. And when you tap into that realm, things happen a little bit faster. And you're like, okay, wait a minute. Why does a year feel like two months? Why does a month feel like 2 weeks? Why does a week feel like a day? Because you're embracing it. And that, I'm glad, you're in alignment with that because I'm like, you could dream, stop chasing the dream. But if you don't face your past will continue to chase you. And if you're not ready, Marianne Williams says it's better to have an opportunity and be prepared rather than not have an opportunity and not be have it's better to have an opportunity and be prepared. No. All right, now I'm just flubbing it. It's better to not have an opportunity and be prepared than have an opportunity and not be prepared. And that's happened a lot of times where I'm always focusing next, 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 and I'm not looking at the moment or I'm always looking behind me. And I'm not appreciating what I've done. And you mentioned something very, very powerful that I remind people is that of, you know, being in the moment, but more importantly, talking about celebrating your wins. That's what I do with everyone. All right. It's Fantastic Friday. What's the latest and greatest? Because if we don't do that, then we don't feel like we're being successful. We're not having those achievement check boxes
yeah.
until something happens or until it's like, all right, here we go, level 3. And you're like, wait, what just happened? Like, well, you didn't celebrate level 1, 2, and now we're on 3. So you're always looking forward and not appreciating the moment,
It's
you know?
it's so funny how I don't know if it's our ego or what does that, but I'll even have
Mhm.
clients that come in and they haven't ever had clients in some cases, right? And
Right.
they'll get clients. But guess
Mhm.
what they'll say, Andrea? They're like, "Well, that was somebody that I knew." I'm like, "Look, whoa, 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 whoa. That
Right.
still counts. That still
Right.
means you're becoming that person, and
Yes.
energetically, it's
Right.
being mirrored back to you. Like,
Mhm.
don't discredit, that process, or like,
Right.
my mentor is Eileen Wilder, and she'll say, like, don't disrespect the audience. And in this case, it's like, don't
Right.
disrespect the
Mhm.
clients by saying, well, they didn't come in exactly. I'm like,
Right.
most of your new clients will be people that are in your world one way or
Right.
another.
Exactly.
All that other stuff starts to work too. But,
Right.
it's just funny how, well, that wasn't exactly, this one doesn't count, essentially, is like what they're saying. I'm like,
Right.
whoa, whoa, whoa,
Yes.
that's
Everybody counts. That's a
crazy.
part you had to
I
go to
know.
that one to get your next one, you know?
Yeah.
It's all linear, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's all that cumulative, because let me tell you, I don't
Yep.
care how that person came in. Working with them is just going to make you that much better at your
Yes.
content, your
Mhm.
conversations. If you have
Right.
opportunities like this, you'll know how to speak to them, because,
Right.
one of the things I see the most is people speaking at a high level, like techno babble, all the languaging of the
Mhm.
soul,
Right.
whereas your client isn't there yet. They're still stuck in the
Right.
story. And
Yes.
so, the more you work with those people, I don't care if they were your college roommate, it's
R
going to help you be better, at attracting more of that person.
Absolutely, and we have to remember that, you know, it's the reason why they're there is to remind you of something you need to learn or need to remember or have to know at that moment. It's really important because everybody matters. Every connection that you make on
Agree.
the street, in the coffee shop, in the supermarket, at home, on virtual, because these are all experiences that help you expand your knowledge, your interaction, and your social skills.
100%. One
Mhm.
of my clients I adore. And sometimes she's like, "Well, I don't, this person's getting on a call, the tire kickers, that whole
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
freebie secret." I'm like, "Listen, first off, we're gonna help you put a process in place, right? So that we
Right.
really are speaking to people who are serious about what they want."
Mhm.
But
Right.
however, the ones that come through, like, still, if
Mhm.
you're not booked up with sales calls out your butt,
Mhm.
then you can use this time to
Right.
practice. You know what?
Right.
Like, it's all
Mhm.
happening for you, because guess what makes you know how you get better? Here's a secret. Little known secret. How you get better at sales, and I don't mean like salesy, sleazy, pushy sales, but just
Right.
actual, by doing it.
Yes. Yes,
It's
absolutely.
such a, sorry guys.
Yep.
There's, and so it's just funny how we're all in such a hurry. I know I was, but it was when I
Mhm.
finally, like, embodied some of the things we're talking about right now, is when
Mhm.
things,
Mhm.
it was like the universe went, she's ready.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
She's ready. Look,
Yeah, let's go, let's open oh, I just got chills. Let's open up the door for her, let's
yeah,
go.
she's
Yeah,
ready. She's been
absolutely.
prepared. But
Yes,
until, and I just fought it so much. So,
and
what would
everybody's on a
you say?
different level, you have to meet them where they're at, because if you're
Yeah,
not meeting them they're at, you're either enabling or not empowering them, and that's what we wanna do in this industry. We wanna kind of, bring them to the next level, and not enable them, you know?
absolutely. So, what do you think is the thing that keeps people the most stuck?
Change. And
Mm,
what I mean by change is, oh my gosh, I have to change my routine. I'm not predictable anymore. You know, Now I'm going to be accountable and responsible for more things. People, we're creatures of comfort, our habitual rituals. I have people that I can know at, all right, it's 10 o'clock. I know where they're at, what they're doing, and what have you.
yeah.
And I was like that. I was like that. I would go to work, come home by 4:30 to 7:30 or 6:30 when by the time dinner's ready, I'm binge watching on the couch. But then something realizes, like, there was this movie reel from Eddie Murphy, the American actor, and he said, if you look at it, I want you to take a second. And I'm going to paraphrase this. He says, you think about it, all of us have maybe 70 winters, 70 springs, 70 falls, and 70 summers. And that just hit me like a drop of
Mm.
a pile of bricks. And I was just like, we really don't have a lot of time on this place. How are we wasting it? How are we utilizing it, or are we wasting it? And then I started to dissect, like, okay, the first 5 years is kind of play, understanding, communicating, and learning how to kind of interact. Next 5 years, we're kind of finding our own with our own little personal quirks and everything. Next 5 years, we're kind of like making the grade. What do we have to do to fit into society? What do we have to do to follow and be disciplined and do the right thing? Next 5 years, if you're a rebel, you're kind of exploring. If you're not, then you're sharpening your craft. Next 5 years, you're in that relationship. I don't know who I want to be with or what have you. Next 5 years, you're planning a family. Next 5 years, you have a family. You know what I mean? And if
Mhm.
you start looking at it in blocks of intervals, it's not a lot of time. It's really not. But what the great part about it is, if you have that awareness now, and you can plan accordingly and enjoy and embrace the journey. Not saying you have to have your time right down to the second or minute, but at least you have an idea of how you want to enjoy it. Press play and life according to you.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
So tell everybody, I know you brought our audience something special. Can you tell
Yes.
them what you did for everyone?
Absolutely. I believe in connectivity. I believe we all have frequencies that one's areas of improvement is areas of strength. So I had gifted each and every listener when they put awakening to reach me here at Andrea Mason's, and I would love to jump on a call with you, a 30-minute call, because you can learn a lot in 30 minutes on how you can live your best life. So I welcome that opportunity to you.
Beautiful, Andrea. And just so everybody knows, all the links to follow Andrea, to link up with her, to book a call, all of that is in the show notes and in the
Hi.
description. So definitely check that out. And,
Mhm.
one final question I really like to ask my guests is, what's the one thing that you would tell that little girl, the person, that we all think of on the inside, the one
Mhm.
that's dreaming and thinking about all the things that you're actually living today? What would be the biggest piece of advice that you would give her?
Absolutely. Through life's adversities, you have a choice to create your own identity. And by doing that, know that anything you've gone through, you have the opportunity to help others overcome it too.
Mm, amazing.
Yes.
That is the most beautiful part. It's
Yes.
like as soon as we, have that, what's the word, like that transformation, there's just
Yes.
something inside us that goes, I got to help other people do the same thing. And
Yes.
that's why
I want to share.
right. It's like, this
Yes.
is awesome. I have to, and it's just such a beautiful space to be in. So thank you for sharing this
Absolutely.
space with me today.
Yes. Thank you for having me. And I appreciate you and all that you're doing.
Oh, thank you so much. And thank you to
Yes.
all the listeners out there. We appreciate you. Thank you. Please share this with somebody if you feel that they need to hear, maybe they're feeling like they have something more to offer,
Mhm.
or, like, definitely like, subscribe, all of those things, and we'll see you next time. Okay? Bye for
Yes.
now.